Do you really need the 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro? This is a great question to ask, and honestly a question a lot of people have asked me. I have been using this 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro for 9 months straight. When I just got it, it completely blew me away. It was super fast, battery lasted forever, and I've never felt so free to create content. However, after 9 months of using this MacBook every single day, the question is this MacBook Pro everything that we as creatives have been looking for? I have been using this M1 Max MacBook Pro for video editing, photo editing, writing scripts, just the entire creative process and running a business. Now, as a creative, for me, it is really important to be able to edit 4K videos, multiple video tracks, multiple audio tracks, or export a video and at the same time start designing or editing in Photoshop, or run Premiere Pro and After Effects at the same time without compromising my productivity. I don't know about you, but there is nothing worse than your computer freezing while you're in your creative flow or when you have a deadline to reach. I really wanted this MacBook to be my main editing machine. I do not want to transfer files and projects from one machine to the other machine. I do not like any steps in between or any annoyances that could disrupt my creative workflow. I just want to be able to edit whenever and wherever I am, and not just now, but also in the future, which is why I personally have opted for the most expensive and the most advanced model, because I want to make sure that in 3, 4, 5 years time, this MacBook can still keep up with my workflow. This MacBook Pro can handle almost anything that I've been throwing at it for the last 9 months. I haven't really had a lot of issues. The fans, which seem to be a topic of importance, they do kick in sometimes. In my experience, they have only kicked in when I'm exporting a video, not when I'm doing any heavy editing. Now, it's doing all of the things that I needed to do, but it isn't always smooth sailing. One thing that happened to me a few times is that I would get notifications that I was running out of application RAM, which is kind of weird because I got the 64 gigabytes of unified RAM. So I did some digging and I did some research, and I found out that this is actually a memory leak that is caused by Monterey. Hey, how do I pronounce Monterey?
That's pronounced Monterey.
Monterey! It's caused by Monterey. Since this is something that is caused by Monterey, this means that it can be easily solved in a future software update, or maybe it is already solved because I haven't gotten that notification anymore. And I think in total, I've gotten it like 3 times in the last 9 months anyway. So it's not too big of a deal, but it was kind of annoying to have to close down any applications when you're using a machine that is honestly this advanced. I also had this other issue with like 1 or 2 Premiere Pro projects where they would just entirely freeze when I was adding motion graphic templates. It was so annoying. Every time I would have to click away and then it would update so I could make my next change in the motion graphic template. But this seems to be more of a software issue rather than a hardware issue. But I did just want to mention it because, you know, when you're buying this MacBook, don't just assume that everything will be magic. A lot of it will, but there will be a few hiccups here and there depending on what software you're using, for example. When it comes to the speakers, in my opinion, they are really good. Now, I am not an audio engineer, but I honestly just edit with the speakers and I'm not even wearing headphones because that is how good I think that they are. Ever since I've gotten my MacBook, I've been able to create whenever and wherever I am. And honestly, for me, this is so huge because before I only edited on a PC, which meant that if I was going to spend a few days with family or with friends, or if I was going to go on a work trip, I couldn't edit my videos and my photos until I got home. When creativity hits, when you get inspiration, you just want to create. You don't want to have to wait. You just want to start editing your videos or editing your photos, reviewing your photos. For that, you need the tools that will help you with that creative workflow. And that is exactly what this MacBook is for me. There is a total of 3 USB-C ports. Honestly, in my opinion, a few extra USB-C ports wouldn't hurt. I usually use 1 USB-C port for my monitor, which we will talk about in a second, 1 to connect to the Ethernet in case I need fast internet, and 1 to an external hard drive. Now, this means that there's no more ports left, so a few more ports would have been really nice, but when I'm on the go, 2 of those ports open up, so it's not too big of a deal. Let's talk about the screens, because this is obviously the biggest topic of conversation. Do you need the 14-inch model or the 16-inch model? You obviously know that that I got the 16-inch model, and this for me is a must. I would not switch to the 14-inch. I need it when I'm editing videos. I would like to see all of the tools that I'm using. I do not like to compromise an extra inch or an extra 2 inches to just make it a little bit more portable. Now, one of the tasks that I do a lot on my MacBook is color grading, and when it comes to color grading, it is really important for the colors to be accurate and true. And this is another reason why I really enjoy my MacBook Pro, because the clarity and the colors and just the screen quality in general is unlike any other monitor that I've ever used or seen. There is one downside when it comes to color grading on an Apple computer when you're using Premiere, and that is the fact that you need to use a compensation LUT, because if you don't do this and you're exporting your video, you will see that your exported video will look different than the video that you've just color graded inside Premiere Pro. It's not too big of a deal because you can use a compensation LUT, but it's just one of those things that I don't want to have to worry about. Before, when I used a Windows computer, I never had to worry about this, but on an Apple computer, this is something to keep in mind. When I'm at home and I'm editing at my desk, this is the setup that I use. I use this ultra-wide monitor by Dell, and I use my MacBook right on the side. I can connect it via USB-C Thunderbolt, which means that it's charging while I'm using this monitor. I love that there is so much space to use different apps simultaneously and that there is so much room to customize Premiere Pro. I don't have to switch workspaces anymore because now I can put everything in one workspace, which is just amazing. So if you're interested, keep an eye out for a desk tour that will be coming soon. When I'm using this setup, I often forget that I'm just editing or working on a laptop because I'm using this big monitor and I connect it via USB-C, which means that it's charging all the time, so it's never running out of juice. I'm also using this wireless keyboard and mouse, which really make it feel like a computer. When my MacBook is not connected to my monitor, which in the last 9 months has been about like 75% of the time, battery lasts about an entire workday depending on what I'm doing. When I'm editing videos, it lasts about 5 to 6 hours on full brightness, and when I'm doing lighter activities and some browsing and things like that, I get some additional time. Now, after 9 months of using this most of the time on just battery, the maximum capacity is now 95%. I had no idea if this was a good or a bad thing, so I actually went to the Apple store and I asked the people there, and what they told me is that 95% is just the natural aging process of a battery, so it is completely fine. He also explained that the battery will actually age a little bit faster if you're draining your battery all the time, so therefore he recommended that if you want to preserve the battery life for as long as possible, you keep it plugged in. When my MacBook is running out of juice, the great thing is that they have a fast charging option, so now within 30 minutes you can get back to 50%. So if you're at an airport or if you're on the go, you can just plug it in for 30 minutes and you're good to go. In December, I made a video where I reviewed how suitable this MacBook is for traveling. Now, after 9 months, I am still taking this MacBook everywhere I go. For my personal travel habits, I would say that this MacBook is great. I usually travel by train or by plane, which means that I'll put down my bag anyway. So for me, the trade-off is really worth it because I get the bigger screen. Now, whether this MacBook fits your travel habits, you're going to want to watch this video right here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.